it's not just a case of them losing custody, but losing all contact for a period of time because they're so damaging the child, all right? So you've got temporary custody to a neutral caregiver. So what's happened, one of your problems is this, is you've got the child so screwed up as a result of that obsessed alienator that they can't even be placed by force with the other parent. They won't go, they'll run away. You may have to then put them to the care of a neutral caregiver. And you're hoping that once they've been removed from the influence of the alienating parent, that you can do what's called reunification therapy, all right? Try to rebuild the bond. It should be, after you've restored the bond, possible to reintroduce the child to the other parent, and the ultimate goal is for the child to have a good relationship with both parents. And so, like I said, when you've got an obsessed or an active alienator, that person does not have a healthy relationship with the child that they're poisoning. It's not healthy at all. And so you've got to cure the parent's relationship with the children on both sides of the equation. Next. Warshak is the person that came up with the idea of the parentectomy, where you remove one parent entirely. You remove that parent just like you would remove sort of a kidnapper or whatever of people that have been victims of brainwashing, including prisoners of war and members of cults. So one of the arguments used when you have to remove a parent is you can't have the targeted parent having the children Monday to Friday and the poisoning parent have the children on the Saturday and Sunday, because it's like they're going out, they're going on a vacation from the cult for a few days and then they go back to the cult again. And so it's never going to improve if you've got the alienating, active and obsessed by just saying, well, we'll just do 50-50 time, because the child's starting to get healthy, poison, healthy, poison, okay? And so brainwashing scholars have identified the victim's dependence on the programmer and isolation from the target as critical conditions for successful indoctrination. So you have to do the exact reverse of that, okay? You can't perpetuate the problem for effective deprogramming to take place. Next, please. What are the recommended treatments? Continuing. Other treatment approaches to severe PAS have been reported, but they've met with failure. You've got 16 severe cases here. The court ordered a change of custody or strict limitation of contact between the alienating parent and children in only 3 out of 16, all right? In all 3, the PA or the PAS was eliminated, okay? The other 13 were treated with a variety of mechanisms, all right? Less restrictive interventions, joint therapy, therapy for the children, and the assignment of a guardian ad litem. In none of those cases was it eliminated. 2 out of 13 showed some minimal or some improvement. 9 showed no improvement, and 2 were worse. Right. Now, remember, that's one study from one group of psychiatrists, psychologists, right? You don't know if these are selective. 16 is not a huge sampling, but if you can rely on it, you can see that in severe cases that the way to go would be the parentectomy, at least for a period of time, right? Next, please. The American Bar Association sponsored the study of Clower and Rivlin that we just looked at, and said caution must be exercising in judging that the point of no return has been reached. And we have seen numerous cases where children have been successfully deprogrammed. So what happens is you get the lawyer for the alienated parent arguing that the children hate the targeted parent so much that you'll destroy the children by placing those children with the targeted parent. You can't risk it. It maybe has occurred, but it's far more harmful to put the children who hate the targeted parent with the targeted parent. You're just going to have to, the targeted parent's just going to have to do without seeing the children, because you'll destroy them if you place them with them. And so what the ABA study said was that that type of argument is probably not justified, and children have been successfully deprogrammed by making radical changes in their living arrangements. There are risks, but a decision has to be made as to what is the greater risk for the child. isn't it more damaging socially, etc., for children to maintain false beliefs that disconnect them from one parent compared to getting rid of those distortion or false statements? And so that's why a lot of judges are not afraid to do it. In British Columbia, Judge Martinson did it in a case in 2009 where she went from mom having primary residence or sole custody to shared to sole to barring contact for a year, and it was upheld in the BC Court of Appeal. Next, please. All right, I told you we would look at this chart at the end because one of the statistics is that fathers are responsible for a factor of 3 to 1 in making false claims of parental alienation. And again, it's probably because dads are the ones that don't have custody, so there's a larger pool of dads that will allege that it has occurred. And they probably are not falsely alleging it. They honestly believe that's what's going on, but sometimes there's a lack of insight into what the actions of the targeted parent or the bad parent are in terms of estrangement, and they don't see it. And so this is a chart that was prepared by Leslie Drozd and Nancy Olison. They don't believe parental alienation occurs that frequently, okay? And so you've got normal development where you've got an affinity and an alignment, all right? This factor here could be the estrangement factor, or there are abuse issues, child abuse, substance abuse, domestic violence, right? And the child's reaction to that, the estrangement, identification with the aggressor. Then you've got parenting problems. So it's a more serious issue here, which would justify a child not wanting to go. And you've got less serious, but equally sort of problematic. The child doesn't have a proper relationship with the parent because that parent is absent physically or emotionally. The parent lacks insight. That parent is criticizing or denigrating either the child or the other parent. So they might say, for example, oh, you're just like your mother, when the child does something wrong. Right? Very damaging statement to make. Alienation, you've got down here, you've got high conflict resulting in parents putting the child in the middle. So this is where both parents are doing their best to bad mouth the other parent and involving the child. The child doesn't know what to do. The child splits, okay? It's called splitting. The child has to play a role in one house and the exact opposite role as an actor in the home of the other parent, all right? Neglectful parent, parenting styles all the way from too lax to too rigid, right? And so then you've got all these alienation issues as well. So when you look at this problem, you want a judge that knows this, you want a lawyer that's familiar with this, and you want your expert to be familiar with it, okay? Next, please. That's the last slide. All right. Well, I went through that real quick, but I hope it was helpful to you, Jill and Michael, to give you an overview of what we deal with when we deal with a parental alienation case. So, thanks very much for coming. Any questions?
Who do you recommend to take a case like mine to look over? Like, how would I get started if we were to do some kind of work with you?
Well, you're in Abbotsford Provincial Court?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm